Hey y'all, welcome back to Babeinlibrary. It's your girl Lisa, and today we're going to wrap up my February and my March reading month. I have read something like 25 books in between February and March, which is quite a lot. However, I don't want to make this a long video for you, so I'm going to wrap it up as quickly as I possibly can. But you all know I'm long-winded, right? That being said, let's just go ahead and jump into some stats for the months. So in February, I read 11 books. 10 of those were e-books, so a digital copy. Now, 4 of those 11 books were audiobooks. So I did have a few that were mixed media, but I will tell you this. I had a doggone good time. I'm surprised I read as many books without audiobooks that I did in February because your girl has become a tandem reader. I have to have an audiobook to pair with my digital book or my physical book, but somehow in February I pulled it off. That being said, let's talk about some of my favorites. Now, in preparation for Petals and Prose, which Kay Shanae was going to be at, I wanted to read her Come series. I don't know if that's necessarily what it's called, but all of them have the title Come in it. So I read Come and Fall in Love. I read Come With Me, Come Again, and The Best Is Yet to Come. Now let me tell you this. I've read 4 out of the 5, and my absolute favorite one is book 2, which is Come With Me. Like, that book is a workplace romance. It is a, marriage in Vegas type of situation. It is just so scrumptious. It is also, I believe, a sibling's best friend type of romance, and I just devoured it and ate it up. But I will tell you to read them in order. In order to get to book 2, you do need to read book 1, Come and Fall in Love, which I did enjoy. I don't think that I rated anything less than a 3, but the first 2 for sure, one was a 4 and one was a 5. Like I told you, if I was going to pick up anyone, I would make sure to read Come With Me. This is one I will be having a physical copy on my shelves come May. But I was really glad to binge that entire series. I do need to read book 5, but it's not a priority at this very moment. So that is 4 books down the hatch in February. Now, after I read that, I did read a follow-up to one of A.E. Valdez's series. So I decided to pick up Winter's Eve, Then, Now, and Always. I do have a dedicated reading vlog for this on my channel, so if you want to know my thoughts, this is a second chance romance between a couple who had experienced a lot of life circumstances. You have a male character that is dealing with grief after loss of a parent. You have a female main character that was trying to be everything that male main character needed. Winter and Eve's love story was very, very beautiful until life happened and they started to grow apart from one another. You get to see some depression representation. You get to see alcoholism representation, how your family members are impacted by the choices you make, but also learning about found family dynamics, how you can find a way out of your grief by seeing that other people need you in the world, whether it be your siblings, whether it be a child that you start to mentor. This book is all about relationship dynamics, not just between the FMC and the MMC. You get to see relationship pairings with friendships, with brotherhood, like I said, mentorship. I absolutely loved the relationship dynamics. And I personally feel like it outshined the romance, but the romance was still good. This one has some forced proximity, only one bed. It has a lot that's going on and packed into this book, but you do need to read book 1 first in this series, which I believe Snow King Catches a Snowflake, before you get to this one. So I really did like this one. If you want to see my thoughts on it, please check out my dedicated reading vlog. I will leave a link to it down below or put it up in the cards for you. Directly after that, I did wind up filming another video where I read The Love Lyric by Christina Forrest. This is the last and final book in the Green Sister series. This one, I do have a dedicated reading vlog because I was able to see the author at one of our events. This one is a single parent romance A little bit of an older woman, younger man trope. It is workplace dynamics because she is a marketing guru for a beauty brand, and he is the talent that they have hired. He is a very popular R&B artist that has just entered the scene, and everyone is dying to be in the spaces that he is at. So her company has decided to make him the face of their latest marketing campaign, and she is in charge of that, and they have to go on a 6-stop tour. Now, he has always been interested in her. However, he knew that she didn't want to be in a relationship. She had been with the love of her life. The love of her life had passed, and now she is a mother. So she has never really been interested in a relationship. However, a friendship starts to brew between them, and it turns into something more. And now they're left to determine whether or not their romance can work, because her job is at stake and his heart is at stake. And I'm telling you, this one is such a good wrap up and conclusion. When you think about like a Goldilocks situation, this is one of those series that something is going to be for anyone of the readers that love romance. If you want something that is soft, I would tell you to go with the first book in the series. If you need something that is a little bit hard, a little bit cutting, a little bit cutting edge, I'm going to go with the second. But if you look for something that's just right, the love lyric is probably going to be perfect for you. So I do have a reading blog for this. Please check it out. Now, I then also wanted to jump into some romanticy, so I then picked up Unspelled by Riel Knight. Riel Knight is going to be at Petals and Prose, and I wanted to pick up her Gargoyle and Witch romance, and I will be featuring this in July. So I know I read it now. I want to talk to you all about it now, but in July, I'm going to be with the Black Cat Book Coven, and we are going to be reading this one again in July to talk about it and get more people exposed to this romance, because I haven't heard a single person talk about this, and this is such a good romanticy for anyone that's just looking for a saga in terms of like, we are soulmates in various different lifetimes and we always come back to one another. However, the universe has a greater prophecy at play, and whether or not we stay together or we break up, we'll always find another way to be together. And this has a single father trope. It has a secret identity because he is a really big part of this prophecy, specifically because he has a daughter, and his daughter is forbidden. She is not supposed to be alive because she was the product of a witch and a gargoyle, but she is not our FMC's daughter, and she doesn't necessarily know about her until she hears about the prophecy, and they have to be able to figure out whether or not that prophecy means doom for them or it's going to mean greatness. And I'm telling you, if you are in your romanticy era like most of us are, this is probably the one I'm going to tell you to pick up. Like I said, it's underrated. It definitely has very soulmate vibes, but you also have a little bit of warring emotions, and at least for me, about how I feel about the MMC, because there is a little bit of miscommunication. If things were just said out loud, we could have been a solid unit. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. If you're interested in reading this one, let me know. I'd love to talk to people about it. Like I said, I will be talking about this with the Black Cat Book Coven in July, and I hope that see you on the live show. Now, I then picked up Yellow Wife Witch by Sadiqa Johnson. Sadiqa was coming to my hometown, and she was going to be talking about her latest release, but I needed to read Yellow Wife first, because Yellow Wife is one that I always hear recommended as a top historical fiction story. And let me tell you, the people did not lie. This one is layered in terms of how you get to see this FMC walk through her life, right? It's from the point of view of a mulatto or a mixed race woman who has beauty, who has privilege, but also is enslaved, and how she has to make choices for herself as well as her kids that you get to see she's birthed throughout this story. And being able to sit and have the reflection of this point of view, because we rarely get the reflection of a woman who is able to not necessarily pass, but obtain a spot in her life where she has a little bit more privilege than someone who has darker skin tone than her. And she is made to be the lady of the house, but she is also responsible for black enslaved people, and how she was raised as a child and how that forms her view, and then how she raises her children, specifically because she has one child that is birthed and a product of another slave, and then her other 3 children, which are girls, right? Which is an important distinction. The one that was a product of a slave is enslaved person is a boy, and the other 3 children of hers are mixed race and are women, are girls. So all of this plays into the dynamics of how you digest this. And when I tell you, decisions were definitely hard, and I can see how our FMC in this story did what she was raised to do. Like, I can't fault her because this is how she was raised. But I also sit back and I think about, how many lives did you look away from? How many lives did you not take into account because of your privilege? Like, this one is a thought-provoking piece, and I can see why it gets so much hype and why it gets so much recognition, because it is definitely worthy. I do have some clips of me listening to Siddiqa talking about this book and just really digesting my thoughts on this one. So I would tell you, if you're looking for more information, please check it out, or better yet, read it for yourself and come back and let me know. I have 3 more books for the month of February. I knew I was going to see Brianna Michelle at Petals and Prose, and so I decided to pick up Finding My Way Out of Darkness. And when I tell you, this is the romantic suspense I desperately needed. This has an amnesia trope, which plays a really big factor into the storyline, because our FMC, she is dealing with some things in her life. Like, she is a sex worker, and it is not her identity, but it is how she has to move through life and what she knows, right? This is kind of how she has been going through life because of circumstances that her parents have put her through. Let's go ahead and put it out there. When we talk about Family I'd Like to Fight, this entire series, all of the family members will be on it in attendance, because Brianna Michelle, one thing she did is she put the hard facts and the hard truths about how the people that were supposed to protect you and were supposed to love you have put you in harm's way. And this book definitely has a lot of triggers and is very, very emotional, but it has that brevity, because this is like I said, an amnesia trope, but the male main character is an FBI agent, but he became an FBI agent specifically to save her, because he knew that she didn't remember who he was, but he has always loved her since the first day he met her. This is a childhood friends turned to strangers, gone back to become lovers. This one right here gives you so many highs and lows. Being able to see her FMC come into her own womanhood, not necessarily remembering everything, which is the key factor about an amnesia trope, right? I know a lot of people say that they don't like amnesia trope, and it's because magically all of their memories are restored. Brianna didn't do that. She didn't undercut what this woman and this man had to go through in order to become who they needed to be with one another. And it wasn't just about her emotional healing. A lot of things happened with our male main character, Brian, and he had to go through things with him through his own family, his parents, and the nature of their relationship and how that played into them. And he gets his full circle moment at the end. When I tell you, this is one that I cannot stop thinking about, so much so that I wind up reading book 2 in March, which I'll come back to. But y'all, this one, if you're looking for a romantic suspense, if you're looking for something that has, we are meant to be, we are lovers throughout time and space, it does not matter if you remember me, because I will make new memories, this is the one for you. 8 it down. Now, the last two books that I want to talk to you all about, I'm not necessarily fans of. These are probably my lowest rated books of the month of February, and I'm going to tell you why. Interesting enough, they're both eroticas. Now, that's not saying anything because clearly I enjoy a good erotic scene. I enjoy eroticas. My problem with Come Sit On It, which is India T. Norfleet's book, is that we could have left it at erotica. We didn't need to have the second chance dynamic. I think I would have preferred this more if they were a couple that met at his Airbnb or his it was a bed and breakfast. This is a story about a second chance romance in which they broke up for whatever reason. I can't even recall today. But she needs to go out of town. She finds this bed and breakfast that she knew about when she was with our male main character. But she didn't know that he now owns this bed and breakfast, and he did that to be able to rebuild himself to become the man she needed. However, he was never able to get back with her, and so he's been holding this secret. He's been taking care of this bed and breakfast, and she just so happens to show up. Now they rekindle, and I didn't feel the connection. I didn't feel the spark. I didn't feel like they overcame what broke them apart, right? A lot of it had to do with his family dynamic, and while I do know your family can play a big part in the decisions of who you choose to spend your life with, how they acclimate, like family members, when you get into a relationship, they become your family too, or at least that's how it's supposed to be. And if they don't accept you, that's an issue. Now again, I understand that that is the premise of why they didn't work out. However, I didn't feel that they had a relationship. I didn't feel they had chemistry. They had spies. They could have left it at a rendezvous. I think I would have liked this book better if they were strangers, had a one-night stand, and then decided to be lovers. But the whole second chance, there wasn't a second chance romance for me. And I'm a second chance romance girly. You will see coming up really soon. I have a interview that I will make sure to promote on this channel talking about second chance romance. But this isn't it. Lastly, for the month of February, I will tell you I read Filth Kings by Masterpiece, and this one is dark. And when I tell you the spice scenes were top tier, my eyebrows were singed off just by how hot it was reading it. The steam, the fire was coming off of the Kindles. That is why they are drawn on and painted on now, because I don't have eyebrows from reading this book. However, there are parts that I absolutely love. There are parts that I detested. And the parts that I detested was the things that just made me feel a certain way. You have a villain that the whole premise of why he was such a dark character, while he hated everyone, why this, that, and the third happened, it felt homophobic to me. And I don't like that. I felt like we could have went about this a different way. In addition to like the way I felt about the villain in the story, I also didn't like certain slurs that were used in this book. I think we could have had some sensitivity readers. That's really the biggest issue with this. Like, while the story, the smut, the spice doesn't get any better than this, while the push and pull of the romance, I'm going to tell you, this is one of those situations which is par for the course. Anytime you have two couples in a book, I always like the secondary couple, like the couple that isn't supposed to be supposed to be the star. Monster, his romance, loved it down. When I tell you I could read about them all day and day long, I would do that. However, me reading the primary character, Detavio, and his romance, no thank you. Me reading about Octavio, no thank you. I felt like that was dropped in for shock and awe. Like, that was one of those things where we didn't have to do that. We just went too far in a lot of this, and I just, this book didn't sit right in my spirit. Now, I will be trying Masterpiece again because I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think that she has books that I could enjoy. Filth Kings isn't it. Now let's talk about the month of March. The month of March was such a great reading month for me. Like, I am still reliving a lot of those moments in my mind because I had so many 5 stars. When I tell you it was banger after banger after banger. Now, I read 12 books. 8 of them I read in tandem. So 8 audiobooks, and I read 10 ebooks. Again, in total 12. I know the math doesn't seem like it's mathing. Just remember 8 of those were read in tandem, but a lot of them were 5 stars. So let's go ahead and talk about probably one of my favorite books, not only of March, but of the year, An American Marriage by T.R. Jones. This book right here is an American classic. When I tell you that this book has to be studied and analyzed, I think this is a great piece of literature that needs to be in college courses. I love this book. This book right here is a story about a young married couple that have their entire lives ahead of them. However, they have only been together a year, and in that year, they have had, time to grow, time to understand each other, time to build businesses and set dreams for one another. But their dreams are crashed and broken one night in which our MMC, our male main character, is at the wrong place and he has the wrong skin color. That's truly the nature of this book, where he is accused of assaulting a white woman who he actually helped, but she doesn't know exactly what happened, and she believes it to be him. Now, his wife knows he was with her the entire time. However, it's all about the public court of opinion, and it's about who is telling the story. And so this man gets locked up for years, and our FMC does her best to be the wife she always wanted to be, but it's difficult to do when you all haven't had a chance to enjoy your marriage, when you haven't had a chance to be husband and wife to one another, because your marriage dissolved in a matter of a day because of something that was wrongly accused for you. And so what happens when one person is fighting to get on the outside and the other is on the outside living their life but still trying to be a wife to a man that is locked up? This story is a really good look at the justice system and what happens when someone is incarcerated, how that impacts family members, how that impacts friends, how lives are altered, and what it looks like when you come out of that. Are you one piece? Are you able to pick up like nothing ever happened, or are you irrevocably changed? I love this, and I'm going to tell you, if you pick up anything from me, pick up this one. I'm going to leave some clips here of Tiari talking about not only this book, but her newest release, Kin, and then we'll talk about the rest of the books that I read for March.
But when I was growing up, if you were a girl and you liked to read and you liked to write, nobody thought this meant you were a writer or a scholar or intellectual. They just thought it meant you were a nice girl, right? Because they're like, oh, that's great. Nobody ever got pregnant in the library. And so when I went to Spelman, which is a historically black college for women, I was in an environment where someone treated me like my thoughts were of consequence. And to me, that is more important. Like some people who are, critics of the institution, I even put it in here, they want to obsess on the things like, I can't believe they make y'all wear white dresses. Like, really? Like, that's a big deal to you? I'm saying that I was taken seriously for the first time in my life, and you really want to talk about the fact that we had a freshman curfew? Seriously? So I tried to incorporate it all. And like you said, these are college kids having a curfew. Young people, part of being a young person is subverting rules. And you gotta have some rules to subvert. I think that women are constantly, older women groom younger women for life. And if you desire the life that the older woman has, you listen to what she's telling you how to do. Their womanhood is all about daily checklists. Do this, don't do that. You don't want your dress to be too short, but then you don't want your dress to be too long. You don't want it to be too tight, but then again, you don't want to look matronly. I mean, Niecy has to deal with this all over her life, like even with her husband. He tells her, he's like, I know I'm not the first. And she has been told she's supposed to make it interesting, make life spicy. And then he's like, I know. And she's like, well, what am I supposed to do? He's like, well, I know I can't be your first lover unless you're some kind of savant. I think he says that. And then she's just really mad. She's just like, I can't do anything right. You know, I'm supposed to please my husband, but now he's too pleased. And how does that work? And I really went in there, because I think when we talk about the 50s, we forget about, you know, people had sexuality in the 50s. I feel like every generation believes they invented sex, right? They think everybody before them was hatched out of the egg in a nest somewhere, and they're the only ones, you know, getting it in. And I really wanted to think about the ways that our sexual expectations, norms, were how people navigated that throughout time. In some ways, I think this is the book I wrote when I was writing the book. I felt like, oh, this book is just coming to me. But I feel that writing a novel, in many ways, you know, when you're in love, you feel like, oh, the heart wants what it wants. I'm just following my heart. And then when you're no longer in love, you're like, I see what issues I was working on.
Now, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I fell in love with Brianna Michelle's romantic suspense writing. And so I had to quickly pick up the sequel in her series, which is Finding My Way to You. This one, beautiful story. Very similar to what I talked about earlier in A.E. Valdez's book, where there is a teenager that they adopt and find a way to help heal them and to make sure that they are connected. And it's all a part of a bigger, broader FBI case. Now, this is a couple that were second chance romance. They were in love in college, and some things have happened, and very much, again, similar to another book that I talked about today, families have played a really big part in the dissolution of their relationship, and now they need each other because our FMC is being stalked, and our MMC is a FBI profiler and manager, and he now says, hey, you can come to my house. I will protect you. I will make sure that nothing can ever touch you. I will dedicate my life to making sure that you are okay. And I loved it. This one was heart-wrenching to me, but it just shows the way in which it had so much caretaking. It has that it's always been you. Everything that I have done has led up into the moment where I could be here for you, be the man that you desired. And no matter what, I was always coming back to you. That is why the title hit so well. Finding My Way to You, chef's kiss. Loved it. I then picked up Chevy by Tatiana Timmons, which is the final book in the Zoo Boys series. Now, I say that being that this is a caveat. While it is the final book, the way that it ended, there is so much more that Tatiana has up her sleeves. This is just the culmination of the Zoo Boys and their entire motorcycle club. But best believe, this story continues on, and I'll be right there writing beside them. When I tell you, most people absolutely cry and break down in this book, but I had lost it hysterically, emotionally well before I got to this book. So at this point, I felt like I didn't have any more tears to cry, but Tatiana made me an absolute liar. This was so stunning, so beautiful. You get to see all of the characters that you know and love. Let me tell you, there is no series that I have devoured quicker than this one, that I have loved more than this one. Like, this book, if you're looking for action, if you're looking for brotherhood, if you're looking for men that love their women, you know, to the ends of the earth, this is the one. Chevy's story is a beautiful adventure romance. This one has a road trip. This one has I am making sure, while I will fight for my life, fight to be here, because we are just getting to start the romance that I have always desired. I never knew love could feel like this, but this is also very much soulmates. I love that Tatiana did a little bit of magical realism in the way that Chevy and Zaria could like talk to each other through their mind. They were one. They were on an ethereal playing field with one another, and everything about them was solid to the T. Now, one thing I don't like about this, the one hiccup that I have, is though Chevy knows that Zaria is his soulmate, he needed to let his best friend go, and his best friend needs to let him go. There were times that I was like, Chevy, why are you going to Harvey? I got to the point where I really did not like Harvey, and that is saying something, because Harvey has been my girl. I started to look at her a little bit different throughout the book when she started getting too close in spots where Zarya needs to be. So that's my one hang up, but I'm not going to tell you that that's something that should deter you from the book, because it absolutely should not. Chevy winds up getting it together, and Zarya winds up reclaiming her place. But this one for sure is one that you have to read in order, but it's going to be worth it, because I have been dipping in and out of romantasy bag. It was all leading up to the point where I needed to read Mayhem and the Mortal. I had an advanced reader copy, and I did a dedicated reading vlog for this. This is Grump Sunshine. This also has an adventure romance where it's very much giving road trip. So if you like a road trip but you don't want something as heavy and as dramatic as Chevy's Promise, I'm going to tell you, pick up Mayhem and the Mortal. This one has high stakes, let me tell you. If you like every time I get around to it, I could possibly perish, because I'm in the thick of it, giving, we have to battle and face all of the things. Maybe a kraken, maybe a hellhound, maybe I have to fight a battle, maybe I'm about to fall off of a cliff. This is the book for you. This one gives all of that, but it also gives some great comedic banter. It gives found family. It gives friendship. It has kings and queens. It has different lands. Y'all, this one ate down. Shanora Williams absolutely knew what she was doing, and I'm telling you, it is a bestseller for a reason. Check it out. I read 2 books. Now I'm going to tell you, I only had one DNF for the month, and it was this one. But the first one in the series, A Hood Flower Girl, absolutely loved, absolutely devoured. These are, this is a duet. You do need to read both. I'll tell you, like I said, I came in thinking I would love The Unhinged Best Man. I assumed that this would be my favorite read, but I was pleasantly surprised that The Hood Flower Girl was my favorite read. Now, I do have a reading vlog for this. This is going to be a part of my flowers vlog. Both of these are siblings' best friend. This one has a boss babe who don't take no lip. She finds somebody that matches her matches her equal, and will ride out for her. This one has some extremely great representation when it comes to acts of service. I'll drop a bag on you. Like, I have always been interested in you, but I need to get my stuff together, because I knew when I came to you, I needed to come correct. Similarly with this one, but this one has a really great cliffhanger that makes you have to come to this one. Y'all, all I can tell you is, if you're ready to read in Monique, I will start with this. These are quick novellas that are just popcorn, biting my nails type good, because the drama, the tea, piping hot. I then decided to read and finish up with Keep Giving Me Love by Brienne Today. This is a quick follow-up to Keep You to Myself. This one does have to be read after that. I honestly will tell you, I came into this book thinking, what do I need this story for? Like, I was happy at the wrap up the last book. I was like, there's no way we needed to this. This was going to give extended epilogue. And while it did, it was the best thing that I could have imagined. Like, Brienne Dene gave us literal found family, where we had 2 young girls whose mother was absolutely terrible, and they wind up needing their big brother, and their big brother came in. When I tell you, Sanovi is the man who wants to make sure everybody is good. He says, I don't care what I have to do, what I need to provide, I will give everyone the clothes off of my back. And his woman, Torin, will hold him down every step of the way. If she says, if you take off your shirt to give it to somebody else, I'm going to cover you. We're going to share my shirt together. And I love the way that they are like iron sharpens iron. There's no competition. There's no jealousy. There's no concern about where in which they fit in each other's life, because they are both bosses. They both own their own company, and Sanovi is ever grateful, and he shows that he loves Torin. He shows that he's always going to be there. And in this story, like, this really did bring me to tears because I just love their relationship. A lot of people see a couple and they're like, oh, she comes from money. Why does she want to find somebody that doesn't have, you know, half of what she has? But what Torin does is she sees something in this man and she's like, I'm going to invest in you. And honestly, I'm going to make sure you know it's never been about the money. It's about the man, and I see who you are, especially how they started their relationship. This is what it looks like to, you know, be a partner, get in the grind, work with your person, and build a life that you're ultimately happy with. A lot of times we may see glorified billionaire romances, and we may see this man has it all together, but these people are helpmates. These people. This is what real romance look like in an everyday life. And I'm so glad that Brienne did that and provided us with the sequel. And furthermore, I will tell you, I thought that this was going to be a duology. I thought this was going to be the end. And it just so happens last week, she let us know that Raquel would be getting her own book. So we should be getting another story, and we should be able to see Sanovi and Tori more in this next one that will be coming out. When, I do not know, but let me let you know, I will be reading it. Now, last but certainly not least, yeah, Big Mama, I read Capri. I read Capri 1 and 1.5. I read Capri 2 and 2.5. And I ended the month off reading Capri 3. Now, I still have to read 3.5. I'm currently in the middle of that. But we are going to talk about my love for this series. First and foremost, I know that Jacquel J favors Capri and Mir the best. Like, when I tell you that this is the only book set in the series, when I talk about the entire universe of the Delgados, Infernos, and Casellis, this is the only one that has different covers for each book. That's how I know she messes with them heavy. Now, this one is a story which I can't give you too much. I did add Capri 1 into my Flowers vlog, so if you want to hear my initial thoughts about this book, please go check that out. Like I said, I'll link it down below. I don't want to spoil it too much because all of this plays into a bigger picture. But when I say Capri and Quamir, Meerkat and Big Mama, Big Pa and Big Mama, Sugar, baby, sweet, injected into my veins. I love it here. These two are friends to lovers. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Friends to lovers that have built up this friendship over the course of time. They also knew each other back in college, but it was never the right time, and now is the perfect time. When I tell you, Quamir is coming after his woman come hell or high water. It does not matter where she's at, when she calls, what she says. All she needs to do is send a text message with 3 letters, INY. The man is coming. He doesn't care if you're in Monaco, if you're at the bodega, if you're at the beauty salon. He doesn't care where you're at. If you send that INY, it's like a bat signal in the sky. And when I tell you that she is Mrs. Inferno, that the entire IGs, the entire squad, the motorcycle gang is coming up behind her and riding. I literally mean they're riding. They're shutting down the Brooklyn Bridge. They are shutting down shop like a Rough Rider. And it's not just about them. While their story is the primary focus, and when I tell you it's important, the spice, top tier within the couple. The romantic swoony moments, they're hitting all of the milestones. You want to talk about your exes? We've got that. You want to talk about this man has a child and how she has to step in and develop a relationship with that child, but also becomes more integrated with the family, and she makes sure to care for his grandma, his father, his mother. Like, she's like, oh, I'm going to play my role and I'm going to play it well because I was made to be a wife, but more importantly, I was made to be your wife. They are the key stakes in this. But we also have a lot of different other people voting into the mix. We get to learn more about Capella and Amy, and when I tell y'all, baby, them two there stress me out to no end. But I enjoy reading about them. I enjoy getting to see more of Capone and Capadonna with Aaron and Elia. I enjoy getting to see Qasim develop his relationship with his love interest. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but if you don't know by now, his story is coming directly after this one, and I will be reading it as soon as possible. And then we get to learn about the Casellis. And the Casellis, baby, are not to be played with. I am highly invested in learning about Goon and Zoya. I am highly invested in learning more about Menace because he is a mystery to me, y'all. This entire universe, I'm down bad for. But again, I will be telling you all more about this as I finish up 3.5. Just know, I'm locked in. I love it here. Never letting up off this catalog. That being said, that wraps up everything that I read in February and March. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. I am going to ask you all to leave me a tree emoji for the American Marriage, because y'all, this one right here, best thing that I've read in a very long time. Absolutely fantastic work of art right here. Leave me a tree emoji, and I'll talk to y'all next time. If you don't want to do that, just tell me what you read and you love, and I'll catch y'all later. Bye.